Congratulations on making it through this course. Now we're going to take some time and review everything that we've learned. So we started off by talking about why learn copywriting. And the answer was you can apply copywriting everywhere. And it really helps you develop a customer-focused mindset. So you'll remember that main idea, which is customers don't care about you, they care about themselves. And by learning copywriting, we truly understand that. And we learn how to best tailor our writing and our mindset to solve our customers' problems. Another great reason to learn copywriting is you only have to write it once and you're done. So it's like delivering your best sales pitch thousands of times. And with the power of the internet, this is something that we didn't have only 10, 15 years ago. So this is one of the most amazing times to really use the skill of copywriting. And another reason is there is a huge demand for people with copywriting skills, both in the business to consumer market as well as the business to business market. Then we talked about the philosophy of copywriting. And the main points were the goal of your copy is to get your customer or reader to take an action. And it doesn't matter what that action is, but it's important that everything that we write is slowly or quickly convincing them to take that action. Another thing we talked about is the importance of using benefits and not just features. So features describes your product, but benefits tell your reader how those features make their life better. And that's what your reader really cares about. We also talked about the importance of always being honest. And that's because when you're honest in your copy, you build trust. And when you have trust with your reader, then your reader takes your words more seriously. We also talked about how customers only care about themselves. And they don't care about you. They don't care who's writing the copy. They want to know if you can help them solve their problems. Another important thing is to always get to know your customer first. And the best way to do this is to interview them. And if you interview them and just really sit back and listen to what they're saying, you're going to pick up on their pain points. And if you know their pain points, then you can write really effective copy that speaks directly to them. We then talked about the central selling idea, and that's the single offer that you're communicating to your reader. So it doesn't matter what your offer is, as long as it's very clear to you and you communicate it clearly to your customer. So let's say your central selling idea is if they give you their email, then you'll give them a free ebook. That's your offer. And no matter how great your copy is, if your offer is really bad, then no one's going to take you up on your offer. So it's really important that you have an offer that's enticing for your reader. And finally, always talk to one person. And a great way to make sure you're doing that is to create a persona based off your customer interviews. And when you're writing, just keep that persona in your mind. And keep in mind that persona was a fictional character that we made based on what we believe our target market is. So after the philosophy of copywriting, we moved on to headlines. And headlines are extremely important because they grab attention. And without an effective headline, your body copy is pointless. So keep in mind that statistic that 5 times as many people read your headline as will read your body copy. And most professional copywriters spend more time writing a great headline than they do writing the entire body copy. Then we talked about what tested advertising methods taught about great headlines, and that is effective headlines have one or more of these 3 elements. And the first of these elements, which is the most effective, is self-interest. And that is followed by news, which is the second most effective element. And finally, curiosity. And we also talked about how the best couplings of these principles are usually self-interest and curiosity, or news and curiosity. If you can include either of those combinations in your headlines, you are much more likely to grab your reader's attention. We also talked about the importance of having a clear headline and how that's much more effective than using clever headlines that are confusing. We want to spell out the benefit that our customer is going to get by reading our copy. We also want to focus on the positive outcome. So almost anything can be framed in either a negative or a positive way, and it's very important that we highlight the positive side of that. And finally, it's much more effective if you offer a cure for an existing problem, like Tylenol for a headache, than preventing a future problem, which is a fire alarm which might prevent a fire in the future. So if you can cure an existing problem and mention that in your headline, you're much more likely to get attention. Then we talked about your body copy, and we started with ADA, which is your new best friend. And ADA stands for attention. How are you grabbing the attention of your reader? And that's usually a headline. Then interest, which is why should your reader be interested in what you have to say. Then we moved on to desire, which is having your reader imagine what it's like if they take the action that you're suggesting. And we talked about in your desire, you want to use a lot of emotional copy, but also balance it out with logical copy. And finally, we talked about action. And this is where you want to spell out exactly what you want your reader to do. After that, we talked about the difference between casual and institutional copy. And casual copy is where you write like you speak, whereas institutional copy is where we use big words to sound smart, and it's really just overcomplicating things. So you always want to use casual copy. Now, the level of how casual you are will depend on your setting. So if you're writing business to business, you don't want to be super casual, but you still want to communicate your message in simple words and not use overly complicated words for the sake of sounding smart. Then we also talked about the importance of writing something, and then after you write anything and get your ideas on paper, then you could take advantage of the power of editing and edit your paper multiple times. After that, we talked about the importance of anticipating your customers' doubts in your copy and bringing them up. And when you do that, you build a lot of trust with your reader. And lastly, we talked about the importance of having 2 readership paths. And that's one path for your quick readers who are just going to scan the subheadlines and they want to get a general idea of what you're saying, and the long readers who are going to read all your body copy. And then we moved on to the technical copy. And the technical copy is just more information about how to write effective copy. So what we talked about is your copy should be just long enough. That's long enough to cover all the main points to convince your reader to take an action, but not so long that we bore the reader or we include any unnecessary information. Then we talked about how you can use text decorations to make your copy more engaging and interesting, but it really depends on your audience. And finally, we talked about the importance of rereading your copy out loud to find your grammar mistakes. And if you can get someone else to read your copy for you, then that's an even better way to catch your mistakes.